Hello, beauty. It's Lindsay Landry, and welcome to this week's Real Magic episode. Today, we're going to be talking about shedding who you were so that you can become who you really are. So, I invite you to take a few breaths with me. And allow yourself to arrive here into this moment. Coming into your heart. Allowing yourself to go beyond your mind and to open to the miracles, the magic, and the possibilities that are waiting for you. So, my intention for these conversations is always to activate, inspire, and support you in opening your heart and aligning to your soul. If this is your first time dropping into one of these sacred conversations, my name is Lindsay Landry. I'm a intuitive spiritual business mentor, a heart shaman for healers and soul-centered women who are really ready to open their hearts and not only align to their soul, but allow their soul to begin to meet the world in a bigger way, to make a bigger impact, and to create deeper results in their relationships, their business, and all aspects of their life. So, if this is your first time landing here, welcome. I'm super delighted to have you join us. So, today's conversation has been inspired by a personal unraveling that I am on the edge of. And, like many of us, when we as a healer go through our own healing, we will attract people that are also working similar layers as us. So I've noticed this for myself, and as I begin to unravel this layer for myself, I'm noticing it for many of my clients and then also my friends that I'm talking to as well. And so I thought it was worth having a conversation about. And this year, and I hate to keep talking about this, but this year really has challenged us in a lot of ways. It's been a year of dissolving. It's been a year of deconstructing, and the ego doesn't necessarily like that, right? And so, you may have noticed that money isn't flowing for you the way that it used to, or things that you've offered in the past, maybe you've been offering them and, the money's not showing up like it used to show up. Some of my friends make six figures, multiple six figures, and they've had consistency in their business for multiple years, and they teach these practices, and even they are noticing this, right? And so I just want to validate you. Nothing is wrong with you. This is part of where we are in our healing process, and it's okay. Just like the leaves fall off the trees, we all go through seasons where we are shedding, where we're being invited to shed. And that really is the invitation here. And so I want to talk about that exactly, especially because we're in the new moon of Gemini as well. And, there's a lot of stories that are coming forward right now. And what I notice is we've sort of been sludging through, right? Sludging through the mud and sludging through these old layers. And what I feel is like we're at this cusp of really letting go of the past so that we can step into the new that is calling us. And, when we're at this edge of stepping into the unknown, it can be scary. It can be really scary, but the image that's been coming forward for me is when we're shedding a layer, it's sort of like wearing a costume. and when we're in this costume or when we're in this old mold that we've tried to fit ourselves in, and it's kind of boxing us in, and it feels like that's who we are because we've worn it for so long. But the truth is, it's just a costume that we've worn, right? And it's sort of the identity or the role that we've taken on, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is who we are. And there can be this fear of, if we let go of that, right, then it's like, who are we, right? And will anyone want to be around us? And what is that going to look like? It can feel really scary. But it can also be really magical when we're willing to take the risk. And so I want to give you a little bit more of an example, a tangible example of what that can look like. And so in my personal journey, I shared a little bit about this last week, how, I feel like we're at this place where we've maybe had somewhat of a hard year and we've had challenges, and our tendency is to go inward, right? Or to hold it for ourselves and maybe put up a mask for the world and to hold it all together, right? Like, we are the one that has to do the thing and we have to get through it. And last week I was talking about this longing for deep connection, and also the pain of the separation, right? And as I've been going closer to this pain, what I'm seeing more and more is that the pain is also a collective pain. Many of us are really craving these deeper connections, and at the same time, it's like we don't know how to have them. We don't know how to open to support or receive the support. We don't know how to do it a different way. And as I've been working this for myself and getting closer to these places and within myself, what I started to come towards is this place in me where I've felt special. And it actually started with going to the dentist and having some things that I needed to get addressed. And, I've never had cavities before or anything like that. And when I noticed that I might have a cavity, and so I went to the dentist, what I started to feel was like, oh my God, this humanness, right? And like, oh, maybe I'm not as special as I thought. And then I had a session with the healer that I'm working with. Me and James are working with her together, and we're really working on finding this connection in our relationship, to deepen our connection and to co-create together, to where rather than creating and manifesting on our own as an individual, right? Because I think for many of us, we've known how to do that. We know how to operate by ourselves. We know how to warrior up. We know how to push forward. We know how to hold it together. We know how to do it by ourselves, right? And what I've been noticing, especially through this move process, this really brought light to this for me, is we didn't know how to do it together. And so even throughout the move process, I would be doing my thing and he would be doing his thing. And what we were both longing for is for us to come together, and yet we didn't know how, right? And so we're getting support now to help us find that co-creation and that togetherness. And so in our session last week, one of the things that I was noticing for myself is this place in my heart where my little girl goes into hiding, and she sort of goes into frozen mode and closes off. And as we were getting closer to that, I could see how my sensitivity, and I talked a bit about this in the last video, of really noticing, how sensitive I am to the collective energy, and at times, it felt like I was a victim to that. And I've learned how to step more into it and to use it, right, as part of my magic. But in this like co-creation, what I've noticed is even when I'll use my relationship for an example, like when James is wanting to support me, I'm so sensitive. I can feel all the pieces, and there's been this way that my system has closed off, right? And so it's like when I start to feel the sensitivity of it, I close off, and then I end up having to do it alone, right? I have to support myself, or I have to go hire someone to support me, which is not a bad thing. Like I said, we're getting support together now, but there's a way it can become a story, right? It can become a story, and it can become a more of a wedge, more of a separation. And so we were looking at this place within myself, and the healer that was holding the space for us, she really started to push me a little bit and challenge me and invited me to notice how this is like a story. It's a story that I've been holding on to. And, I'm sharing myself as an invitation because we all have these. We all have these stories in these places that we're possibly holding on to that create this separation. And so as I was going closer to this to look at it, what I could see is how in the story, it puts me in this place where I'm the only one who can do the thing. And then because I'm the only one who can do it, who can support me or who can hold it together, right, and offer the support and manage the energy and find the solution and all these things. When I hold up this story, this protection, and then I'm in that energy, what happens is it possibly makes me special, right? Because I'm the one figuring it out. I'm the one solving it. I'm the one saving the day, right? Creating the opportunity or the results. Then it allows me to be the special one. And what I was noticing is how this story has been actually creating separation. And, not only does it create separation, but it creates this like expectation. It creates this holding energy where, it's almost like a proving or a maintaining, having to maintain that specialness or that status, right? And so as I started to see this, I also started to see it intertwined in other areas of my life and my business. And even in the past, how when I've offered things, there's, this way that it's like it has to be super unique, or I'm just using this as an example too. This isn't necessarily true for me, but some of the conversations I've recently had, this has come forward, where we have to like find a label for our work that's like totally different from everyone else. And actually it is true for me because I did that. When I was working as a dietitian, I didn't want to be just a dietitian. I had to be something more than that, something special, right? And then when I started offering healing and Reiki, like it was kind of the same thing. And like, so when we put this expectation on ourselves, it creates this pressure, but it also in some ways creates a disconnect, right? Because then if I'm not just a dietitian, then it sort of like puts this edge of people not understanding what I really am. Or the same with healing work, right? Like it can create this separation, or business coaching, any of it. We're like trying to be unique, or we are unique and we're trying to express our uniqueness, and then it creates a separation because there's that trying. And so as we were looking at this, this identity piece for me, I could feel how this whole year really all these things have come forward for me to begin to loosen this And it's uncomfortable, right? When our identity is being challenged, a label that we've sort of taken on as an outfit or as a mold for ourselves, it becomes really challenging, and it becomes really uncomfortable. And so I started to see this. And I also started to see how, like, I've attracted all these amazing situations and people into my life this year, clients, friends, all these opportunities to allow me to heal this, and so grateful for that. Even this moving process has allowed me to step into this place of healing this. And so what we began to look at in the session is also how, so these identities are actually the thing that's creating the separation, because it's putting us on a pedestal, right? Or we then have to be the magical one, or we have to be holding the light, right? So it's like validating this story, putting us in this role of like having to do a thing, having to hold a thing. And when we consider letting that go, it can feel really, really scary, and super, super vulnerable. And so as we were in this session, and I was playing with possibly letting this go, the healer that I'm working with, she had James begin to tell me what he sees in me. And, one of the things he said is, you're special because it's who you are. No matter what you're doing, whether you're killing it or not, you're special because it's who you are. And when he said that, at first, it was like hard for me even to receive it, right? Because again, it's like we want to be this thing, or we're trying to be this thing, but then there's like this protection around it. It's the separation. And so as I sat with it and allowed myself to kind of allow the layers to unravel, I started to realize, and surrender to the label or the outfit, right, that we're trying to like hold up to. That's not the thing that makes us special or magical or light. We're light, we're special, we're magical because it's who we are. And when we allow ourselves to let go of who we've been in the way that we've been, we can discover more of an embodiment of this energy. Not from trying to be it, but from simply being it. And I can feel like even just having this conversation, it's like there's this stress like in my throat. So you might feel a little bit of an energetic push, as I'm even speaking about these things. And it's challenging, it's challenging. And so I want to just invite you to take a few breaths. And maybe notice where you've been rubbing up against your own stories. These identities that are wanting to shake loose. Another one, me and James were recently talking about how, in 2010, he moved to Colorado. He was riding his bike in the mountains, and he got into like tip-top shape, low body fat, and he started training for triathlons. He did a half Ironman. That was his first race. And it was this way that he really was just leaning into the mystery and into life, living and being in life. And he felt super alive and super in himself. And, then there came a point after a couple years of doing triathlons, then, it got a little more competitive where he was wanting to beat his numbers. And then he started to get a little bit burnt out and wasn't feeling as drawn to it. And then, he gained some weight, and which wasn't even a bad thing because he was actually probably really low body fat when he was doing all the races and stuff. But he could feel the pressure he was putting on himself, And so as he was reflecting on this, he was feeling this way of like, I'm not that person anymore. And like, almost like all these things that I've created, and yet like, why am I not creating that now? And what I was noticing for him, and I was reflecting to him as we were having this conversation a couple days ago, is, it feels like in some ways, because you felt like you failed at that thing, the part of you that created those things has sort of collapsed. Feels like a failure, really. And there's an opportunity to reclaim that part of you, because you are the one that created those things. You're not anyone different. That is really who you are. And how can you simply reclaim that part of you? See him or her for who you are and the magic that they are. And it's not because of a label. It's because of this deep fire that's deep inside. The pressure, the stories, the molds, the goals, the trying to fit into a thing. That is the stories that are holding us captive. And that is what we're being invited to let go of. So where have you been holding yourself captive by these stories? Trying to contain yourself in a box, putting pressure on yourself, trying to fit into a mold. That it's you, but it's not really you. Yeah, and I invite you just to have some compassion with these parts of you. And also remember the truth. And the truth is, when we realize we're not special, we're not more enlightened, we're not more light, or we're not more magical than any other person, there's actually space for connection. There's actually space for other people to rise into their potential and their magic, right? It's like a whole different playing game. And that is where I'm desiring to move this year. I want to experience your magic just as much as I want to share my magic. I want to receive your magic just as much as I want to give my magic. The intimacy and the connection. And, for us to create this new earth that we are moving towards, we need to each step into our purpose, the truth of our purpose, not these ideas or molds of what we think it's supposed to be. And so this week, I invite you to play with this. Play with noticing, where have you been holding yourself captive with these stories? these identities that aren't really you, and they're creating these pressures and they're creating tension. And what I want to say too, right before I close this, is, if it's been a challenging year, if you have noticed, maybe the offers that you have put out haven't gotten traction, or maybe the clients that you've worked with haven't been your ideal clients, or maybe the results that they've received, haven't been what you would have desired for them. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep going. It doesn't mean anything about you. Maybe it was just part of your shedding process. When we begin to realize that, we're not special, right? We can also take that pressure off of other people and our expectations of other people. Maybe it's okay that the clients didn't get the results that you wanted. Maybe it's absolutely perfect where the people are that are showing up for you, even though they feel like they're not your dream client. Because you're not special either, just like they're not. We're all human, doing the best that we can. I love you so much, and I want to hear from you. Let me know what's moving through you as you listen to this. You can comment below, or you can reply to my email. If you are not connected with me, I suggest you join my Facebook page, Soul Inspired Success. You can find the link in the comments. Also, you can sign up for my email list. The link will also be in the comment. That's ways just to stay in touch, to know what's happening. I am offering a special for the month of December, a breakthrough and up level special. So it's 4 sessions, and you also receive my Exploring Your Dark Goddess 6-week journey for free. And one of the sessions is also a bonus session. So typically it's a 3-session package, and I'm offering a bonus session plus my Exploring Your Dark Goddess 6-week journey. So if you know that you need some support, you desire some support in really reclaiming your confidence and your clarity, and redefining, it's like when we're in this shedding process, we shed, and then it's like, okay, who am I? What am I moving towards? What do I really want to do? If you need help really tuning into your soul, into your heart, and getting laser clear on like what is wanting to happen from that place, I would absolutely love to support you. It'd be an honor. So you can reach out to me and we can talk more about that and how it can happen. Once again, sending you so much love and magic, and I hope you have a fabulous week.